Hello, everybody. It's 2024. This is Clay Jonathan, and this is my new podcast. This podcast is called A Life of Comics. So, my name is Clay Jonathan. I've been doing webcomics on the web since, 1997. And why did I decide to do this podcast? I don't know. I've always liked podcasts. I listen to them, and to me, they're just a great way to connect to people. And when I use a podcast, I feel connected to the people I'm listening to. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll be connected as well in some way. I don't know if I have a great voice for this, but I'm going to try my best. If you don't understand me, you can send me hate mailers and messages telling the entire world that I suck. That's totally okay with me. Anyways, let's get into this. I guess I can start. Why did webcomics in the first place? I know there's thousands of people out there doing webcomics and trying their best to be accomplished. It's a hard thing, I know. And over the years, I've asked myself, how do I become someone who's popular? Or does being popular really mean anything in the first place? And exactly why do I do this in the first place? Well, I never really expected to become a webcomic artist or anything like that in terms of a professional sense. Maybe I always had a dream of someday becoming a webcomic artist, of, doing this full time. I wouldn't have to do anything else. I could just draw comics all day. I think a lot of us had that dream. But the reality is it's really tough to make that jump. Not that some people haven't done it. It's obviously something people can do. I think it's gotten harder and harder over the years. And it's a jump I haven't been able to make. And I think I've missed my jump. But, I think the possibility is still out there. It depends on how willing you are to, make the jump. Quit that job. Do this. Draw comics every day. Scrape by for a while. Or maybe for some reason your comic just gets popular right from the get-go and you don't have to make that jump so harshly. You can just sort of ease into it. But it's kind of a hard thing. It's not like you can sit down on the first day and say, well, I'm going to do webcomics. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And it's going to be my number one source of income. That's a really hard place to start for a lot of people. And definitely, I don't know if I can recommend it. You do need money to survive. And every year it's getting harder and harder to survive on the little income that we get. So, anyways, that's a bit of a ramble. But let's go back into, why did I start? Well, I think it was way back in 1996. I've always read comics books as a kid. I had an older brother. He always bought the DC comics. I always bought the Marvel comics. So we kind of shared each other's comics. The comic books I really liked. I liked the New Mutants. I really enjoyed that. I liked how, I'm going to say his name wrong. I'm just calling him Bill S. I could look up how to say that name, but anyways, his art was just absolutely amazing. I thought it was this is not comic books at first, but he had a style that was really, really expressive. Later on, I found out he was doing all sorts of crazy stuff, like using crayons and pastels to get the effects that he did. And it was one of those books that really kind of showed me that comic books are not just storytelling. They're ways to express yourself. And another series I really enjoyed was Cerebus by David Sim. And I have to admit, I was raised in Kitchener, Waterloo in Ontario, and that's where Aardvark Venahem, that's Dave Sim's company, was located. And of course I go into the Now and Then books up on Queen Street, and there'd be a lot of promotion towards Cerebus being his hometown and stuff like that. So of course I got into the book. It's really an amazing book in a lot of ways. So full of imagination, it really pushes the boundaries of what comic books can do. And unfortunately, he took a turn a bit for the worse in terms of the misogyny and stuff like that. And sorry, that kind of stuff was a bit crazy, I have to say. But you can still admire the technique. And the Dave Sim really got into how to use text and the text bubbles to really show experience. For example, in the guy's book, he really uses text bubbles very imaginatively to show how someone is drunk. And it's perfect. It's really well done. He did an amazing job, and that was one influence. Like, these books can really express things, not just tell stories, but make you feel. Dave Sim also published the Cerebus Guide to Publishing, which I picked up, and I read it from back and forth, I don't know how many times. And from that book, I decided, hell, I'm going to make a comic book myself. And this is before I even knew webcomics existed. And so I decided to do exactly what he said to do. Buy the pens he told me to buy, the Hunt 102s, buy the boards that he suggested, the Bainbridge, buy the Rapido markers, buy just everything he did just to replicate what he did. And so I sat down and I drew a 20-page comic using all the materials I should have done. It was called A Heart Made of Glass. And I finished it. I've never really finished anything before, so it was kind of a surprise. And I really enjoyed the process. Every day I came home from work and I got out the blue pencils and I got out the ink and the lettering guide, the Ames lettering guide that I bought, and I got to work. It was just so amazing. It felt liberating. For the first time, the blank page felt like something that was inspiring rather than something scary that I didn't know what I was going to do with. You know what it's like to have like a dozen sketchbooks with maybe the first few pages with sketches on it, or maybe not even a sketch at all. Too scared to do the first sketch. Too scared to ruin the purity of that white page. But with A Heart Made of Glass, I was just going page after page after page. And I was really enjoying the process of trying to express myself. And instead of a story, I basically took out a part of my life from 1995, where a girl that I was really in love with, she had enough of me, and she dumped me on Valentine's Day. And I went through a few relationships after that that were absolutely crap. So I thought, maybe I can make a comic book out of this. Maybe I can do something with this. So it wasn't just the act of drawing. It's just that I had this idea. I had something in my head. I had a story I needed to tell. And it felt like this is the best way to do it. A year earlier, I tried to write a book. And, I'm not a book writer. And that really showed when I was trying to make this story. And I kind of shelved it. It was really pretentious and stupid. And, I'm just, maybe some people can do it, but you just really shouldn't sit down and write a book. You should really just practice with short stories first before you try to sit down and write your first banger. And of course, it wasn't working for me. But I had the ideas. I couldn't let them go. And reading Dave Sim's Guide to Self-Publishing really did it for me. I said, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can't I wasn't thinking of becoming a great artist or anything like that, but I just wanted something I could hold in my hands. I wanted a comic book I could just hold in my hands. That's what I really wanted, more than anything. And I think for a lot of us, that's really our goal, isn't it? To have something that we've created in our hands, processed and printed and stuff like that, and then we get to hold it and flip through it and say, wow, I did this. And it's not the first time. When I was in grade school, I used to make books all the time, and that was a lot of fun. Of course, they're really stupid and stuff like that because I'm in grade 6. My sense of humor just isn't there. But it was a lot of fun, and I continued doing that. And it's just something I could never, ever let go. And so finally I did this. I made this a Heart Made of Glass. It was a 20-page book, and I actually finished it. Now, when I say finished, that doesn't mean that I actually printed the book or anything like that. Of course, next I had to make a cover, and I did not know how to do that. That just was not in the book. So I didn't know what to do next. Okay, well, while I'm figuring out how to do a cover, let's work on number 2. And so that's what I started doing. Now, at the time, I was also kicking around the internet. I got into the internet in, 1990. Put up my first homepage in 1995, which is kind of a Leonard Cohen tribute page, which I was creating just for fun. Actually, never got anywhere with it. But another coincidence. There at the school, I was at University of Waterloo, and there was a anime club, and one of the mascots of the anime club was this artist. He made his own character called Emiko, and he really promoted this character. And I didn't really get into the character myself, and it was kind of a knockoff of many of the anime tropes at the time, which we all kind of did it. That wasn't anything special. But he made this comic and put it online, and said, well, I could do that. Yeah, there's no problem. I could put up a comic too. I could put a comic on the web. And the only thing I had available was the Heart Made of Glass. So I wasn't figuring out how to publish it or anything like that. So I was like, okay, well, just scan it and put it on the web. And that's what I did. I connected to a place called Online Fan Artist Headquarters, I think it was called. And that's where I connected with a lot of different artists at the time. Everyone was kind of doing anime fan art and stuff like that. And of course, when I was doing the comic Heart Made of Glass, I was really copying anime styles at the time. I'm kind of a hypocrite that way, but I was really influenced by anime such as Neon Genesis Evangelion and Maison Ikoku. And I really liked the art styles. I really liked how expressive those art styles were. The faces were simplified, but they were incredibly expressive. And that's what I wanted. I wanted very expressive faces. And anyways, I put it online, and I started getting feedback from it. People liked this comic. I was really happy about that. I started getting involved with the community, the online community that at Fan Art Headquarters. That's it. I can't go back and edit it, but that's the name of the place, Fan Art Headquarters. And I got involved with the Impro Mangas there. The impro mangas were like, you would start a comic book, do a few pages, and then you had to finish within a week. And then when you finished, the next person would pick up where you were in the story and draw continuing pages. And there was a couple of really popular impro mangas at the time. I think Queen of Hearts was one that I got involved in that I really enjoyed doing. And another one called Controversial Jack. Both of those comics I really, really enjoyed. I did others too, but I can't remember what they were. Those are the two main ones. And through Queen of Hearts, that's how I met Karaoke, who I later did another webcomic called Aphasia with. And also Controversial Jack. I met a lot of people through that. One friend that I met through all these comic books we did all together was Brian O'Malley, who you may know went on to do greater things than impro mangas. And yeah, I was part of this community and started really getting into webcomics. Soon I just forgot about publishing the whole thing. I didn't see the point. I got about 12 pages into the second issue of Heart Made of Glass, and I just sort of quit. I found this new toy, and I really wanted to enjoy it. And there was something so amazing about webcomics, When I did the first issue of the Heart Made of Glass, I basically did it on my own. No one saw it. Front to back. Maybe my roommate saw it. That was really about the only person who saw the comic when I was finished. Nobody else saw it. But when I was doing webcomics, I could finish a page, throw it up on the internet, and people see it immediately. I get instantaneous feedback. And very, very different thing. That's pretty addictive, actually. To have people immediately give you criticism or insight or applause of whatever you do about a comic. All of a sudden it was a live thing. And I got really sucked into community. I was in Ontario at the time, and we made a group called Ontario Fan Artists Unite, OFU. And we'd meet once a month in Toronto. We'd go to a cafe or something like that, cafe or a restaurant, and we'd pull out our pens and sketchbooks. We first met at Anime North in 1998 and again in 1999. And we just had this great friendship. We'd meet once a month and we'd make comics and draw on each other's sketchbooks for a day in Toronto. It was amazing. I met a lot of people there, and you can see their work. Well, the first place you can see the work is in Sexy Losers. The first strip, we drew that in a hospital. We couldn't find a cafe that could... Our group grew and grew and grew. So soon we had 12 or 15 people walking around Toronto trying to find a place to draw, and we couldn't find any. So we found a hospital cafeteria, and that's where that first strip of Sexy Losers was made. And you can see everybody did it. I just told them what I wanted for the strip, and they drew it. They did an amazing job. And that was done live. A lot of those comics were live. We just drew them together, and they went up the next day. And that was an amazing thing. It was a really, really amazing thing back then, to be able to draw comics and have this community. I'm a pretty lonely person, I guess. I know I am a lonely person, and being able to draw webcomics and being a part of this community, that's what really, really pulled it in. And I went to Japan afterwards, and I kind of lost that community coming to Japan. And but it still feels like, well, I've been here that was 24 years ago when I moved from Canada to Japan. And I've been chasing that sense of community ever since. I guess that's my, Moby Dick, chasing the whale. That's the whale I'm chasing. To get back that sense of community where it felt like anything could happen. I was drawing comics and I was working off other people's ideas. They were throwing an idea at me, then I'd throw an idea back. I remember Brian and Mallory sat down and we're going to do a revision of the Queen of Clubs, that old comic that we did together way back for the Impramanga. And we're going to make it all just absolutely fucking crazy. And we sat down, we just did the scripting for it, and we just pass it back and forth. And the ideas that would just come up when two people are just throwing artistic ideas at each other, we'd be killing ourselves laughing because, you have people working together and creating something, and the ideas are just, no idea was too insane. And someone would grab your idea and make it worse. And you just laugh and laugh because making it worse would make it better. And that's a sense of community I really, really enjoyed back then. I miss when I moved to Japan. I miss that very much. But that's how I got into webcomics. It was I've always enjoyed drawing comics, and having that sense of community. And I guess that's what makes it, you're not a popular webcomic artist or anything like that. And back then I never really cared about that. I didn't care if I was popular or I was the best or blah, blah, blah. I had many followers or I likes and stuff. Didn't even care about any of that. The only thing I really cared about was grabbing a piece of paper and drawing with my friends. That was really what's motivated me. And still, I like the drawing that piece of paper and putting some shit on it. I just love that. You've got these characters and you just push them a little bit further, and they have their adventures get bigger and bigger, and you're just making it happen. You're just, you're the cameraman, and you're just letting these characters live on the piece of paper. And that's really the biggest joy of doing all this. I was listening to a podcast about why people do the things, but do creative work on the web. A lot of people do it for likes and followers and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, what really matters is if you just enjoy doing it. And I have enjoyed doing webcomics. There's a part where I didn't enjoy it. And I think that was like from 2005 to 2011. I don't know what happened in 2011. Up until I was just doing webcomics very sporadically. And all of a sudden, 2011, something just lit a fire in my ass and just said, okay, you are drawing webcomics from now on. And since 2011, I have been drawing consistently. Maybe not a comic every week, but definitely several pages a month, every month. And I feel like I'm on a roll, I can't stop. I really enjoy it. I'm not making popular comics. I'm not making, comics that change the world or anything like that. I'm not getting any comics that are making me well known or anything like that, but I'm expressing myself. I'm still trying to tell a story, and I'm still trying to connect. And that's why I do webcomics. Well, I can't believe I talked for nearly 25 minutes now. But I just wanted to start with how I got into this thing in the first place. Anyways, if you're interested in hearing some more, please subscribe. And I'm going to do this, hopefully once every 2 weeks. Anyways, thank you very much for living. Not living. Well, thank you very much for living too. But thank you very much for listening. Anyways, you have a great 2024, and I'll talk to you soon.